Namaskar. Welcome to NCERT's live and interactive session. Once again, my name is AMIT RANJAN and you're watching us on PM eVidya channel 4 as also on YouTube channel NCERT official and YouTube's PM eVidya channel 4. So viewers, welcome again. We are doing this series called Transformational Teaching for different classes and currently we are doing it for grade 4. So today we are going to discuss grade 4 English textbook SANTOOR, and joining us for this discussion is the coordinator of this book, Professor VARADA MOHAN NIKALJE. Good morning ma'am, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And also Bhumi would be doing the sign language interpretation. So without wasting any further time, let's start with the book. So ma'am, congratulations on this book. You are the coordinator and we are here to discuss what is new and innovative about this book and how teachers can use this book innovatively and use interesting pedagogical methods. So ma'am, would you please tell us what the highlights of this book are to begin with?
Yes, I think that's a very interesting question because the new approach that has been in vogue, I should say, now for 2 or 3 years, it all began with the foundational stage with the grade 1 textbook, grade 1 followed by grade 2 and then grade 3 last year and grade 4 the most recent one, and this will be followed in grade 5. So the new approach tries to, if I may talk about content, then it tries to include Indian knowledge systems in terms of small proverbs, folk tales and so on, and in terms of language we are trying to make it very interesting for the children because English, as we all know, in India it's generally the L2. The National Education Policy calls for the 4 block approach, which we shall be touching upon. L2 and R2, that is L2 because English is generally not the mother tongue. It is also possibly not the first language in which they learn at school. So they would be, this would be R2, R1 being the language in which they first learn reading and writing. So considering this fact, and yet we want, every parent wants, whether the parent is literate or illiterate, every parent wants that the child should be able to communicate in good simple English. There is no need for flowery language, all we want is correct grammar and so that the child is intelligible to the other person. So we are moving from basic communication towards, slightly in grade 4, we are moving towards fluency and proficiency in the 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading and writing.
Right. So ma'am, let us have a look at the different sections of the book, what the book constitutes, and
yes,
then maybe we can talk about the exercises. So I see that there are 4 different sections. One is My Land, My Beautiful World, Fun with Games and Up High. So if you would like to show some sections of from these.
Yes, I think I should. Let me begin with the cover page itself, because the cover page, as you can see here, SANTOOR, the name itself, again in many, I have many queries about why it is called SANTOOR. So there was a common decision that it would be named, all the textbooks would be named after musical instruments. Hindi has a veena, for instance, the Urdu has shehnai, and here we have SANTOOR. So SANTOOR is a musical instrument. It cannot be, the flute, for instance, is an English word, it can be translated, but SANTOOR is SANTOOR. So it's a musical instrument from the hills, from the Kashmir region and elsewhere. And it was a folk music instrument, and now it has entered mainstream music. In addition to SANTOOR, which is easy to pronounce also for young children, we have on this cover page, which I would like to focus on, we have here the person playing the musical instrument, so that children will actually know and relate the title to the instrument. We have a number of children, happy children, playing various games and learning from these games as well. We have mountain goats on that side, and there is a pet goat also. Generally children have pet dogs or cats or goldfish perhaps, but here we have a pet goat. And coming to the back of back cover, we have here a ropeway and a Vande Bharat train, meaning that this book is not just contemporary but includes modernity in it. A 20th century book perhaps would not have a QR code which is in some of these lessons. So
And
if you want me to...
what is the QR code helpful for?
The QR code, of course, in NCERT we have the QR code, the energized textbooks
So
which
if
we had
scan
initiated.
it with our phone,
Yes.
the whole text of the book and any other related material would come up.
Yes, and there is still scope for feeding more material into it.
Right, like this session would also go into the QR code. Of
Yes,
this book.
hopefully. And we also have the QR code, the picture of the QR code, because in the 21st century children have seen, they have a different kind of financial literacy. They have seen UPI payments being made and so on. So in the illustrations, the fruit seller also has, the grocery shop owner also has a small, what do you call those things, where they can make the payment online.
Right.
And so that also adds a touch of contemporarity to the book.
So let us see it section by section. Can you
Yes.
tell us more about the sections one by one? The
Yes.
first one is called My Land, in which there is a beautiful poem called Together We Can, which is about teamwork and unity. Together we stand strong and tall, helping each other, we never fall, and so on. And there's also a lesson about being smart and being safe.
Yes. If you see the very first poem, Together We Can, which I noticed that you were looking at, twice or thrice, you can see here the colorful nature of the illustrations that go well with the poem. You can see the Varli illustrations here, the simple, almost deceptively simple I should say, the Varli, which is triangles and just lines and maybe a circle for the head, and children will enjoy drawing them. This is a poem on Together We Can. That is, we need not move ahead in isolation. We stand together, we work together, we sing together, and we help each other out. So it's basically team spirit in whether it's class work or whether it's a play or whether it's in the playground or anything else. So basically this talks about trust and respect and love all together, but without explicitly stating these. There is also a lesson on road safety. If you recall, the ministry had said that there should be something on road safety, and we had, I'm happy to say that perhaps we anticipated or something, but yes, we do feel that road safety is something that children need to know a little more about. So we had introduced in the foundational stage the word zebra, and so here we could help children, facilitate them into understanding zebra crossing. So road safety, we have introduced the form of a letter as a text. A traffic police woman, not policeman, but police woman, is gently telling the children that it's important to follow road rules, and how it helps not only themselves but everyone around them. And it also talks about road signs, if I can show a little bit.
Sure.
The road signs that are there, and which they would be familiar, if they have seen it, near this thing would be near their school,
Yeah.
and this thing is that there should be no noise, no blowing the horn unnecessarily, perhaps near a hospital and so on, and which direction, this direction one should not move and so on.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing in this
And the
is
parents should also learn not to
Yes.
honk unnecessarily.
That's
as
true.
It
And
seems to
perhaps
be a national pastime to blow the horn all the time.
I wish it will go down,
Yeah.
and maybe the child can also help, and as the child grows older, perhaps carry on these lessons with them. I'd also like to show about this one, that spot is whatever is wrong in the picture. There is a zigzag zebra crossing, so that they will point out that this is wrong, and then there are these red, amber and green lights, and the person is trying to cross,
Right.
and there's a banyan tree with bananas in them.
Right.
So it's cognitively it's very helpful, but of course it's interesting for the child, and then the child is asked to write the errors. So
Right.
in English it's not just enough to point out, but they have to write it out in English. They are in grade 4 after all.
Right. So they have
this
to
is about
write
this.
in full sentences what
Yes,
is wrong.
yes, they have to write in full sentences. If they write in phrases, the teacher can of course encourage them to write in full sentences.
Right.
That's right. In the next unit, we have a lesson on Braille.
Yeah.
And this one is about, of course, Louis Braille, and in his childhood, how he became blind due to an accident. One eye became blind, and then the infection spread to the other eye. He became totally blind. So he knew what it was to see, and then gradually became blind. So that kind of adds a dimension to the tragedy. And then we have talked about Braille, and
how Braille developed and the history of it with
Yes.
Captain Charles Barbier.
Yes, and we try to put it in age appropriate language.
Right.
It's quite difficult to write simple language, as you very well know, being a student of English literature. Then we also brought it, we didn't end it there. We brought it here in the sense that a blind person taught the world to see. So it was through Braille that there is connectivity with a world which they thought they would never be part of. And then we have a sentence here that Braille is not just for those who are blind. Braille is for, it can be learnt by anyone, even those with eyesight, and then they can write small, they can translate in a way. They can translate small poems, small stories into Braille, which can then be donated to the library and so on, because Braille children, they get Braille textbooks, but may not get other reading material, interesting material to read.
And
So-
anyway, inclusivity is a two-way process. If
That's
they
right.
are making an effort to be a part of this world,
Yes.
and this world can make an effort to be a part of their world, and
Yes.
we should know each other's language well.
That is true. So we
There's
have
a lot of emphasis on inclusivity in NEP 2020, so this is a very good step towards that direction, and for teachers to be aware of this and talk about this in every class.
Yes, that is true. And we have also a small exercise in which we have asked children to write the word cat, for instance, CAT, cat, in Braille.
Right.
We have given a small introduction about the Braille alphabet, and here how to write man and jug. It's just 3 letters, 4 letters that they can write, and then they are invited to write their own name in Braille. So it's a fun activity, but it will bring home the point that you just said about inclusion
Right.
here. In the sorry.
The next section is about games.
Yes. In grade 3 we had toys, and in grade 4 we have games, and in grade 5 hopefully we will be talking about games and sports together. So this all is in alignment with the Fit India movement. We want to encourage children, plus in grade 3 toy based pedagogy also is there. So we are focusing not just on any toy but indigenous toys. And well, a long time ago parents used to whittle wood and make toys for children. not the mass production that we see now. So here in grade 4 we have the Lagori champions, a lesson on Lagori champions. And I should also say here that there is a boy captain and a girl captain. So there are 2 teams, and gender equality, gender sensitivity is also addressed throughout the book. I am just giving this as an example.
As we also saw with the traffic police.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here there's a description about the game, and this one runs and he hits it, and multilingualism is also addressed here. In Rajasthan, I believe they call it by a different name. In South India, they call it by a different name. So, what is Lagori called in your region, in your locality? That is one question. And we have, it's almost like a commentary. He runs, she hits, you know, simple present tense used like a commentary. And then when they all win, the villagers raise both the captains and, you know, praise both the captains, sorry. And well, it ends there, but then the exercises continue talking about games, about the different kinds of games, and encourages them to write a paragraph on their favorite game and so on.
And this is also about ordering of the sentences in the exercises, comprehension, if they are able to. We have
also talked about outdoor games and indoor games, and what equipment they need. And some games don't really need any equipment. You know, it's just running. The freedom to run anywhere. So that also is celebrated here.
And the exercises also here I see are very interesting, and there are anagrams. Without saying they are anagrams, which is rearranging letters to form meaningful words.
That's right.
Yeah. So, ma'am, can we talk a little about exercises also, in general?
Before that, can I just add, there's also a game Hekko from Nagaland. Again, you know, to continue the concept of inclusivity. It began with a folk tale. You will be really interested to know. It began with a folk tale where, you know, in the folk tale where man and the animals led by the tiger, they were fighting for survival, and then they Hek means to challenge and Ko means tiger. So, man challenging the tiger. Man means mankind, I mean. And in that again they had a disagreement, it almost came to a conflict. So, now that folk tale, retaining the name Hekko, we have 2 teams, one is humans and one is tiger, and they all they are in a circle, and then, you know, they will be asked to there will be 2 players who are coming inside from the opposing team, and then they are trying to pull out these. So, in those days it was played to identify the strongest youth in the village who would be useful for hunting and for fighting and so on. But then now it's a children's game, and it's similar to Kabaddi in many ways. So, again we are asking children to compare the games and to talk about them. Yes, but the exercises in general, we have tried to include a vast array of activities and exercises. One is rearrange the words, anagrams, as you said, and we are trying to integrate grammar and not teach grammar in isolation, but we are using homonyms, for instance, in another page, where he threw the ball, and he will throw the ball, and then he threw the ball, THROUGH is there and THROU is there. Then we have other words which are well within their range of vocabulary. And we also have, there is this article on prepositions. We have focused here on insects. I mean, there's a lot about animals and birds, even in the other textbook, The World Around Us and all. And here we have, there's a ladybug, there's an ant under a leaf, there's a butterfly flying above the flower, there's a bee sitting on her, and caterpillar. So I think, you know, there's a lot of these insects also which are becoming extinct. There are, you know, even bacteria, but which are also becoming extinct. Soil health is important, and so we try to bring in these elements, of course, while teaching grammar. Here the focus is on prepositions.
So while teaching grammar, we are also trying to make them ecologically sensitive towards
Yes, that's the idea.
insects.
Yes.
So there's a overarching interdisciplinary approach throughout the book.
Yes, we have tried to include elements from the environment, physical environment, natural environment. There's also an exercise or two related, which are indirectly related to mathematics, where page 23, yes. So here these are using matchsticks,
Right.
and matchsticks are found everywhere in India, and of course the teacher has to be careful when they are handling matchsticks, but I am sure teachers are capable of that. Here the focus is on 9 minus 2, one example has been given here, and 8 minus 2, and then here in this one they have to solve the equation. Now how they are supposed to solve it? By moving one matchstick. Not only that, they also have to say aloud after they finish the activity. There is a big difference between move and remove and so on. So they have to use these words carefully while explaining, first in pairs and then explaining to the teacher how they solved the equation, and which they have to explain to the teacher. The teacher has to act as if he or she does not understand anything, and then they have to show that by shifting one letter, one matchstick, it becomes, well, the answer is provided in another, at the end of the in the last unit.
So the basic idea of addition, subtraction of simple numbers, 9 minus 2 is not 8, so they have to rearrange it to get it correct. And then there will be communication between the teacher and the student, so they have to use the language right to say what they are going to do and all that. So it's a very interesting approach of learning language along with learning other disciplines.
Yes, we have tried to integrate maths, and single digits have already been covered in class 2 of mathematics, so it's well within their range. But the thing is, now they have to communicate how they did it.
Okay. Right. And the last section is Up High, a journey to the magical mountains. And
yes, and before that I'm tempted to show about this comic strip here. This is from the Jataka Tales, and this is a comic strip where the monkeys decide to go on a fast. So we have left the speech blurbs here for the children to create their own comic story. One or two teachers did express their apprehension that whether the children can write and should we not give them more support. I said no, they have reached class 4 and so they should be able to write. Like if they look at the story, the pictures, the story will be clear to them, and then they have to write about it. In short, it's all about the monkeys who decide to go on a fast. And why? Because the monkey king is going on a fast, that's why, there is no other reason. And then they say, all right, we have to fast till sunset, and then they collect bananas and keep it so that they will be ready to break their fast. And then no harm in holding, and then they can say a banana, they can say the fruit, they can say the yellow fruit, anything.
So are they able to fast or not able to fast? Doubts if monkeys will be able to fast.
So then they say, all right, we will hold it in our hands. Then they hold the banana in their hands. The sun is still, an hour or two away, for sunset. And then they peel the banana, and then they smell the banana, and then you can guess what happens next. So it's a very funny story.
Right.
And then they realize that fasting needs more willpower than we thought. Right. So it's easy to make a resolution. I mean, indirectly we are bringing home this, I don't want to say moral, but yeah, this lesson or this value that you should think things through before actually attempting them.
And also about self-control, that slowly you learn self-control and fast.
Yes.
Yeah. There's also a very interesting story of Monkey King which Huan Sang took from India to China.
Okay.
And then it came back to us as a Buddhist text. Also, this is also from Jataka, a Buddhist text. So take the help of your teachers to find out about the Monkey King legend that is in China.
Yes. It's very interesting how stories
Travel,
move.
yeah.
They travel with tourists. They travel with philosophers and saints and so on. Yes. So you were saying about up high, about the mountains. So we have introduced in this lesson. There is a Sherpa, a grandfather, who goes on long, walks, and his granddaughter also joins him, and he takes her on long walks. And one day he says, "Now that you are fit enough, you can walk up a mountain, and let us look at our village from the top of the mountain." So then they move, and it's important, of course, again we are bringing home to children the fact that it's you suddenly cannot go and climb a mountain. You need to become fit by taking long walks and by training yourself. So here this young girl, 9 or 10 years old, she goes up and then she sees yaks there, so again this will be perhaps a new experience for some children. They are used to seeing camels carrying loads, donkeys carrying loads, and here we have yaks which are carrying the loads, and then they admire the Mount Everest
view,
also that they can see. And yes, there is a santoor player also whom we introduced here. And then now we are introducing children to idioms. We are talking about idioms where we say the foot of the hill, mouth of the river, the arms of the chair, the eye of the needle. So body parts they have learnt in class 1, and now we are relating it, in idioms, how ear of corn and so on. And then here also there is a picture, and they are invited to write words, label them. This is the peak, and this is the foot, and so on.
Right.
So incorporating language, facilitating
Here they would
them
be able to understand how idioms are used and how language is highly idiomatic and metaphorical.
Because idioms are there in every language. So from familiar words, body parts which they are already familiar with, and now we are moving to slightly unfamiliar use, like through idioms, which they would find interesting, I'm sure.
Right. Great. So, ma'am, very little time left, but what would you advise the teachers on how to approach this book?
Yes, one is of course to take the child along with you. This sounds very simple perhaps, or almost a cliche, but then I would like to show here in the last page we have this self-assessment.
Right, there are two self-assessments in the book.
One in the middle of the book and one at the end. So when the child has completed 2 units and comes across this self-assessment page, and then the child has to just put a tick mark. There is a checklist here. I can recite the poem with gestures by myself or in a group by repeating after the teacher, or none of the above. I like reading poems quietly, that also is an option. So they can they can tick more than one option also, that is also
and
there.
There is no correct answer, these are open-ended.
Yes.
Everybody's answer is correct.
That's right. And I can understand new words by using a dictionary. So if the child is capable of using a dictionary, even a pictorial dictionary, and or listening to the teacher's explanation, or by asking peers and classmates, or by reading the entire sentence again, that means in context, and by looking at the pictures, linking the illustration with the text. So perhaps by the end of the book, the child will be able to put more tick marks, and the child would feel a sense of accomplishment that I can do these things, I can, and so on. So just as there's another chapter, I'm talking too much about chapters, but then about the Indian knowledge, there is one on a monument. There is a Maheshwar, the fort here, beautifully illustrated. I think it's one of the best and the most detailed. So I would like to show this illustration.
Definitely. It's a very
and
beautiful
it's also about the queen who Queen Ahilya also,
Bai.
yes. and this is the fort and the balconies, and then there is, I mean, there's everything famous. We have also talked about the Maheshwar saris, and then also went on to ask about other crafts, arts found in your region or locality. But yes, this is one of the best illustrations in the whole book, so I thought I'd like to show it before we end the session.
Definitely, definitely. And also for teachers, that stories contain a lot, like literature has history, has philosophy, has
Yes.
life lessons, and this is something that they need to approach, not to just explain a story, but to treat it with an interdisciplinary eye, and,
Yes.
and make the students understand how to connect the dots that are.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So thank you very much, ma'am, for this very engaging discussion, and we'll have more such discussions in the future with
Sure.
yeah. So thanks a lot,
Thank you.
viewers, for joining us, and thanks a lot to ma'am for
Thank you.
this session, and thank you also to Bhumi for the sign language interpretation. So viewers, we are doing this series regarding class 4 textbooks every day at 10 a.m. So tomorrow we will be back with another subject, and so thank you for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Namaskar.